Hey everyone, good to see you here. So, something big is happening October 1st that might surprise you more than you think. Paper checks from the government, the kind people used to get for Social Security, tax refunds, or even veterans benefits, are basically going away. That's right, the mailbox that used to bring millions of people their payments each month is about to get a lot emptier. And while most people already get their money through direct deposit, there are still millions who don't. For them, this change could mean confusion, delays, or even missed payments. So stick around, because I'll walk you through exactly which agencies are impacted, how it affects Social Security and tax refunds, and what exceptions are still on the table. Before we get into it, let me ask you something. Have you or someone you know ever received a government check in the mail? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments. It'll be interesting to see how many people here still rely on them. And while you're at it, if you find this kind of information helpful, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future updates that could directly affect your wallet. Now, let's start with where this comes from. Back in March, President Trump signed Executive Order 14247. It sets September 30th, 2025 as the final cutoff date. After that, paper checks from the federal government are almost entirely done, with only a few rare exceptions. The reason is cost and security. In 2024 alone, taxpayers spent over $650 million just to maintain the systems for printing and processing paper checks. And checks are 16 times more likely to be lost or stolen compared to electronic deposits. So from the government's perspective, the move saves money and reduces fraud. So then, let's go agency by agency, because this is where the details matter. If you get Social Security benefits, those paper checks are ending. If you haven't switched to direct deposit or the Treasury's Direct Express prepaid debit card, your benefits may be delayed in October or not delivered until you update your information. If you're waiting on a tax refund from the IRS, the same rule applies. Refunds will now be issued electronically, unless you qualify for one of the rare exceptions. And here's something important to understand. The changes don't just apply to money going out. The executive order also directs the government to move away from paper checks coming in, like when people send the IRS a check to pay their taxes. Now, the law may still require paper checks to be accepted in some cases, but the overall direction is clear. Both refunds and payments are shifting to electronic systems. If you receive veterans benefits through the VA, those will be electronic only. No more paper checks. If you're paid through the Defense Finance and Accounting Service, whether it's retirement or active duty pay, that will also be electronic only. And if you're a contractor or vendor registered on sam.gov, you'll need to have a bank account tied to your registration. The system will not issue paper checks after the deadline. So yeah, this isn't just one program. It's across the board. The government wants to get rid of almost all paper disbursements. Now let's talk about exceptions, because there are a few. If you're 90 or older, if you live in a very remote area without access to banks, if you have a documented mental impairment, or if you need emergency relief like FEMA disaster payments, then paper checks may still be allowed. National security and law enforcement payments can also qualify. But these waivers are considered rare. They're not automatic, and you have to apply by calling Treasury or filling out a waiver form. And here's the challenge. Even though 94% of refunds and benefits are already electronic, that still leaves about 5 million people. Many are seniors in their 80s or 90s who never switched. Others live in rural areas, don't have IDs, or simply don't trust banks. And then there are people who prefer paper checks because it feels safer to them. For those groups, this change could be stressful. Think about it. Imagine someone who has never owned a computer, who's been walking to the mailbox for decades to collect their Social Security payment. For them, losing the check isn't just a new system, it's a disruption to their routine and sense of security. Or picture a worker who depends on that annual refund check to cover rent or bills. Switching to digital may feel risky, even if it's technically safer. So what does this mean for you personally? If you already have direct deposit set up, nothing changes. But if you or someone you know still gets paper checks, now is the time to act. Don't wait until the first missed payment in October. Call the Social Security Administration if that's your benefit. Ask about signing up for direct deposit or the Direct Express card. If you do a tax refund, make sure the IRS has your direct deposit information on file. And if you think you qualify for a waiver, like being over 90 or living in a remote area, start the application process now, because it could take time. Besides, there's a bigger financial reason behind this. Every paper check costs the government about 50 cents to issue, compared to less than 15 cents for an electronic payment. Multiply that difference by millions of checks, and the savings add up to billions. That's one reason the Treasury pushed so hard for this change. And fraud is another. In 2022, check fraud doubled with over 680,000 reports. Electronic deposits cut that risk way down. But critics argue the government is moving too quickly. They point out that many people don't know about the deadline or don't have the tools to make the switch easily. Hotlines are already hard to reach, websites are confusing, and some groups, especially older adults or those without internet, could be left behind. That's why advocates warn this will cause stress and anxiety for the people who can least afford delays in their benefits. Now, what happens after October 1st? If you're set up electronically, nothing changes. If you're still on paper and you don't qualify for a waiver, your payments may stop until you update your info. If you do apply for a waiver, approval isn't guaranteed, and the processing could take time. And for contractors and vendors, no exceptions. Bank info is required. And speaking of the bigger picture, this shift is about more than just payments. It's part of the government modernizing its financial systems. Just like email replaced letters or streaming replaced DVDs, the move is a signal that federal payments are stepping into the digital era. The question is whether the transition leaves some people behind. So then, here's where you come in. If you want to be prepared, check your setup now. Make sure your direct deposit info is correct. Help a parent or grandparent who might be unsure. And if you think you qualify for a waiver, don't wait until the last week of September to ask about it. And here's something I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Do you feel ready for this switch? Or do you worry it might cause problems for people you know? Share your thoughts, because I always read them and it helps shape these conversations. At the end of the day, October marks the end of an era. For decades, paper checks were how people trusted the government to deliver money they were owed. Now, that trust is shifting to direct deposits and prepaid cards. Some will find it easier, others harder, but either way, it's happening. So make sure you or your loved ones are ready before the change arrives. And remember, even if this change doesn't affect you directly, it might affect someone you care about. So sharing this information could make a big difference for them. And guess what? Staying informed now means you won't be scrambling later. So double check your setup, help someone who might need it, and keep an eye on these deadlines. Because like it or not, the future of payments isn't coming someday. It's here.